Hi, I'm Meg Tucker with Cook with Meg, and you are here with me in the kitchen to make cheesy homemade lasagna. This is, I think, one of my all-time favorite things to eat. Definitely as the weather gets cooler, it's so comforting. It's like a big pasta hug. So how does this video work? Well, I'm in the kitchen, maybe you're in your kitchen. I have all of my tools, I have my ingredients, and I have my recipe. So I will ask that you have yours as well. Whether you print it out, write it down, have it on a phone or a tablet beside you, this is the roadmap to the most cheesy, decadent, layered pasta dish. It's a true comfort fave, and it's lasagna. Now I will tell you, disclaimer, I already have my sauce made. So if you need to make sauce, there is the how to make sauce video. If you want to watch that first, this is just a gorgeous, thick, rich, meaty sauce that I made with ground beef. We've got onion, we have, I didn't use celery this time, carrot, a little bit of grated carrot, and tomato paste and some garlic, a little bit of brown sugar. Always use a little pinch of sugar when you're making a sauce that has tomatoes. It just helps with reduce the acidity a little, and it also is really easy on your tummy, so it helps you digest a little. So you can use a meat sauce. You can also absolutely 100% use a jar of pasta sauce that's already made, already in your pantry, a can, a jar, it all works. Are you ready? Are we ready to begin? It's really more of an assembly thing, which I love to do, but I'm going to move my baking dish. This is an 8x8, clang, clang. Actually, this is more like a 9x9. I'm not doing a really big pan of lasagna today. I'm going to do just a smaller version. If you want to make a great big 9x13, go for it. So what I have is a separate bowl, and guaranteed, yep, just like clockwork, our dog Oliver, it's not for puppies. He will make his way over here because he knows that cheese is involved. So I've just got some grated cheese now. This is just a grated mozzarella. Clean hands in the kitchen always. To the mozzarella, and you will be following along on your recipe for quantities, I'm going to be adding what I think is probably my favorite part of the lasagna, and that would be some ricotta. Now, if ricotta is not in your recipe today, you can use cottage cheese. Cottage cheese absolutely works. And I'm using a whole container, which is 475 grams. Again, if you can only get a smaller container, that totally works. I like a really good cheesy layer, and this is, again, called cheesy lasagna. So I will recycle this in a sec. I'm gonna put it just behind me now so it's not in my way. So to this small to medium sized bowl, what we're trying to do here is build a layer. It's flavor, but it's also the structure of the lasagna. So I'm going to just very casually, carefully mix together that thick, I say clumpy, ricotta cheese, which is really good. I even want to take a little bite just to describe it to you. I love ricotta. It's super creamy. It's a little gritty. Cottage cheese, again, works beautifully. You don't need this layer, but it's fantastic. I'm also going to add about a tablespoon of grated Parmesan cheese. Now I will be adding a little bit more to the top layer of the lasagna, but I like to have different kinds of cheese on the inside of the filling. So again, what do we have here already? We've got the mozzarella cheese, we've got the ricotta cheese, we've got a little bit of parm. I do have to add a little bit of pepper, so I'm gonna crack in a little bit of black pepper. We'll leave that off to the side, and I am going to put in a pinch of salt. This isn't a layer that you're really going to be able to taste because I'm also adding in 1 egg. Now, many of you who cook with me know I will always prefer to crack my egg in a little bowl first, take a quick peek, make sure I haven't gotten any shells in the bowl, and then that's when I am good to go to dump it into the rest. I washed my hands. If you see that your counter gets a little bit of egg on it. It is raw egg, so definitely take a sec and wipe it up. The last ingredient that I really love to add to this is a little bit of dried basil. I'm gonna put about a teaspoon of dried basil. This is where you can have a lot of fun and you can really completely modify what you want to add to this layer. Maybe it's fresh basil, maybe it's chopped parsley, maybe it's dried parsley. Again, my sous chef in the kitchen. And all we're doing, friends, is we're just gonna give this a blend because we wanna break the yolk and we want that egg to help mix right into the ricotta and the mozzarella, and the basil and the salt and the pepper. And we're kind of doing this with a spatula, whether you have a wooden spoon or a regular kitchen spoon or a spatula. I love a spatula. We're really just sort of blending it all together. What you will see is it now kind of clumps together. That's perfect. That's kind of the consistency we're looking for. If it does this in the bowl, imagine how it's going to help stand up in our beautiful lasagna. So I think we've got our components pretty much ready to go. We've got our beautiful pasta sauce. This was made, by the way, earlier today, but the cool thing about lasagna is you can literally have sauce made and in the fridge. You could have sauce made and in the freezer and just thaw it out. You can build all of these components cold and then foil it and into the oven, which, by the way, is your reminder, preheat your oven to 350 degrees. I'm not going to show you this straight out of the oven because we are not having this until much later, but it's actually a good way to show you that you can build this, put foil over it, and then just pop it into the fridge. You could even freeze it at that stage, or you could just leave it on your oven on top of the stove until you are ready to bake it. I absolutely will be including pictures and a quick snippet to show you what it looks like when it comes out of the oven. So, are we ready? Let's build. This is on page 2 where it says, let's build the lasagna. So we did grease this baking dish. Again, we are looking at 8x8 or 9x9. I put some nonstick spray, even though we are going to put a couple big spoonfuls of sauce down in the bottom, and that's the key. When you make any kind of a pasta dish, be sure that you put some sauce down in the first layer. If you need to do this and kind of shimmy it around, that works. This is always step number 1 when we're building lasagna because we need the moisture to cook the noodles. Now, you will see the word express on this particular box. This means they are oven ready. That doesn't mean they're cooked, but it means they will cook very beautifully, very quickly and evenly without me having to boil water, cook the pasta first, drain the pasta, and use already cooked noodles. These are uncooked but ready for the oven, and usually it will say oven ready pasta or express. Now, as you will see, doesn't quite fit in my baking dish, so this is where we do a little bit of Tetris. I like this part. I think this is a fun part. You can definitely get the kids helping. If you snap a noodle and it doesn't snap properly, don't worry. Do not get rid of these little bits either because we definitely will be using them to fill in the holes, and we can also use them if you have a whole separate recipe for like a lasagna soup or a pasta soup. Okay, so we are going to make 3 rows across. Whoa, that was a good one. And I'll show you by holding this up. There's a little bit of space in between, but can you see that? Ultimately, 1, 2, 3. Now, what I like to do, it's a personal preference. Every time I make a layer of noodle, I definitely give them a little gentle but firm press because I want to compact the layers. I want to build as many layers as I possibly can without this bubbling up and over. So I am now ready to add my first mixture. And the mixture is going to be the ricotta layer. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do dollops or blobs, whatever you want to call it. And I'm just gently pressing down all the ricotta into one nice layer. I'm going to do half, and then I'm going to come back and do another half. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I just do the one layer of ricotta, but for this one, I think I can do a second layer. So I'm pressing gently without super disturbing those noodles. Turn your dish if that makes it easier. This does not need to be perfect. I'm just using my spatula to kind of press. You want coverage. Think about that. You do want that ricotta to kind of cover the whole space. It doesn't need to be perfect, but we absolutely want every bite to have a bit of that ricotta filling. All right, how does that look? So here we go. There we are, looking gorgeous. Next up, we're gonna add another layer of sauce. So you can kind of get a sense of how this is coming together. We need to do sauce, noodle, ricotta. Sauce, noodle, ricotta. I'm gonna keep going with another layer and I'll meet you back here in just a sec. We are back. We have sauce, noodle, ricotta, sauce. Next up, I lied. We're gonna add a little bit of grated cheese before we add our noodle. So this is just a pre-shredded cheese. Please use what you have. You can grate your own. I prefer to have my own grated, but today is not that day and that's totally okay. So you don't wanna go overboard, even though this is cheesy lasagna. We are going to pace ourselves, and then we're going to need 3 more noodles. Super fun. Crack. Ooh, that was a good one. Love it. Ooh, that one's got a bit of a seam running all the way down. Wonder if that's going to break. It kind of did, but I'm okay with that. Why? Guess what? I have this little piece that I can put, boop, just like that. So you can fill in any little creases or breaks that you might have. Do not ever worry about it. Just find a little piece and tuck it right on in. It is going to cook and melt in with the other. So remember, we give it a little push, and then we're gonna go in with the last half of our cheesy ricotta mixture. All right, so we're gonna put a little more sauce on top. Just like this. I think I have room for one more noodle layer. So we're gonna use 9 noodles in total. Now this is getting very close to the top. You could absolutely stop at this level. And you know what? The more, do I stop or do I keep going? I'm gonna go. I'm gonna do 3 more noodles, which brings me to 9 total. If I had a bigger dish, I definitely would have more room to do more layers, but I'm gonna just do 1 layer and gently press it down. Not breaking these very well. Okay, all good, all good. And then because I'm out of the ricotta, I definitely am going to finish strong with more sauce. This must be why I brought this extra little bowl. Let's put all these little bits of lasagna. In fact, the next time you want to make a really fun soup, you've got some ready to go pasta that can go right into the soup. This looks amazing, but we need some moisture for the top. So let's go in with probably the rest of the sauce. If you happen to make a lot of sauce, like you've got a lot of extra, amazing. Pop that into a container, pop that into the freezer, and then you will literally have an entire other meal ready to go. Pasta, spaghetti night, or another smaller lasagna. Put that right into the sink. That is going to hang in the sink until I finish, and then we can officially do up all of our dishes, load the dishwasher. This guy is gorgeous. It is right to the top. So already in my experience, I am going to definitely cook this beautiful, gorgeous lasagna on a piece of tin foil. And what I mean by that is I'm going to take a large piece of tin foil and I'm going to set it on top of or underneath this baking dish. The reason for that is because this is going to cook, but that sauce is going to want to get bubbly, and what we don't want to have happen is anything to bubble up and over. Having said that, we need a blanket of cheese for the top. This is where Oliver's like, please, please, Mom. All of the quantities are listed. You ultimately wanted about 2 cups of shredded cheese, and you notice that I used a bit of the cheese in the ricotta portion. So if you will, probably a cup of it went into the ricotta, and this is probably the 2nd cup. If you are a really big cheesy fam and you love cheese, you can absolutely add a little bit more. By all means, this is your creation. So a little bit of cheese. He's been so good. I'm just gonna give him a little cheese there. Okay, so I do have a little bit of grated Parm. Now, Parmesan cheese is optional. I love it because a little goes a long way. If you have grated, awesome. If you have the shakeable kind in a jug, like a little container, that works too. It's got a bit of a bite, meaning it's a little sharper, but it's got a really, really, really yummy, yummy flavor. And I always finish with a little bit of pepper. And my secret is a little drizzle of oil. So we use olive oil, just a very, very, very light, teeny tiny dribble. It's literally coming out like little teeny, just little beads. And the reason I do this, it just helps the cheese get super golden and super bubbly. Now, when it is time for this to bake, so right now this looks amazing. If this were going into the oven right away, I would do 2 things. I would take some tin foil and I would definitely cover the lasagna. But here is a kitchen tip for you. When you go to cover anything with tin foil that comes right up to the top, i.e. this because it has cheese, when you get your tin foil out, take some non-stick spray and just give this part, just the underside, a quick little spray. I'll go get mine, meet you back here in 1 sec, and I'll show you exactly how I treat this so that it's not going to stick to the cheese. Hang on. Okay, I'm back. I have my non-stick spray. Oliver, you may want to move out of the way. And I'm just going to give this a little bit of a spritz. It's just a neat trick, and all it does is the side that I just sprayed, check it out, we're going to put that down over the lasagna. We're going to loosely cover it, not tight, 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 but we are going to make our way all the way around. Be very careful. This is foil, which is metal, and you can get yourself a nice little cut. So just be careful when you are working with tin foil that you're not working too quickly. There we go. It doesn't have to be perfect, but we're covering this and we are going to bake this in the oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for about 45 to 50 minutes, 45 to 50 with the foil on. Then what we're going to do is we're going to take it out of the oven, being very careful. We're going to remove the tin foil, and because we sprayed it, it should not stick to the cheese. And then we're gonna pop it back into the oven for another 10 to 15 minutes until the cheese gets all bubbly and a little bit golden. If you really love to be in the kitchen and you're familiar with how to use the broil setting on your oven, you absolutely can turn your broiler on and you can brulee or broil the cheese on top. Just be really, really careful, because when you broil, either low or high, it is extreme heat coming straight down. Whereas a regular oven, the heat comes from the bottom. You have to watch it like a hawk. You can go from magic to completely seared and burned, and we worked way too hard on this beautiful lasagna. So remember to put a piece of tin foil down on the oven rack before you set this onto the rack in the oven. So I hope that you enjoy this beautiful homemade, handmade, handcrafted cheesy lasagna. We've given you lots of fun options. The one thing I didn't mention was maybe you're not a fan of meat. Maybe you're a vegetarian or a vegan household. You would make all of your modifications accordingly, and you would just load up on veggies. So you could do like a layer of broccoli. You could do layers of peppers. Like you really could amp it up with mushrooms and broccoli and peppers and as many vegetables as you wanted. Just make sure you do your layers and it's not completely right to the very top and spilling over. To lift it, oh, she's heavy. So just be careful. Get a little help when you're going to the oven. For this and for more with me, cookwithmeg.com. I hope that you enjoy making your homemade lasagna. And until the next time or the next video, we will see you in the kitchen. And always remember, we are awesome. Bye, everyone.